We'll start with Burke Street because this cycleway has been around for quite some time, and we're not going to do all of it. We're just going to do a little chunk of it because the features that are on this repeat endlessly throughout the whole thing. Now, it does cross numerous driveways, and it seems to do so without any problems at all, and I think drivers are well used to having to give way as they come in and out of the driveways. It might have taken a while to get used to it in the beginning, but I've ridden up and down here a couple of dozen times and never seen a problem. One thing you will see in places is the use of green paint on the path, and the other thing is where the path crosses a road like that one, you'll notice that the road surface changes to a brick texture. That gives everyone coming from both directions, so drivers coming from the left or the right, or cyclists going across it, or even pedestrians going across there on the path on the right, they know that there's an intersection there and they need to slow down and take care. And I think that's the main feature of these intersections, is that as long as everyone's tonking along at a reasonable speed and not rushing or racing, it's quite safe because you can pull up in a hurry. Pedestrians can pull up very quickly, in one step. Cyclists can jam on the brakes and pull up in a metre or two, and drivers can pull up very quickly too. So we're heading off here into the back streets, and from here what we're going to be looking at is a number of treatments along the way. So raised platforms like that, and the thing you'll often see is you won't just see one raised platform like that, you'll see a number of them along a section of street. So they're not just doing a kind of point traffic calming where they just slow the traffic down for like 10 yards on before it and not after it. They slow it down again and again and again to ensure that drivers keep their speed down, because there's some streets where I've seen, I think, 3 in a row, maybe 100 yards apart, and I guess people just get used to not racing between them. Now you notice as we go through this roundabout on the left, there's a raised platform there. It's not a pedestrian crossing, there's plantings on either side of it. Not quite sure why that's not a pedestrian crossing, but it certainly slows the drivers down coming in and out. So even as you exit that roundabout going to the left, you have to be going slow. Now here we're going to go into a slow side street. You can see there's an island there which narrows the street down so drivers can't overtake cyclists who want to turn in. There's this big raised concrete platform, there's bollards on the left, and then we get into one of these differently textured surfaces. Again, it's brick. Whether it's just concrete pressed to look like brick, who knows, but you can see it's 10 kilometres an hour, pedestrians have priority, cyclists have to give way. That pedestrian there could have been walking down the street without any problems. In fact, I don't know why they still even have a footpath there. There's plenty of these blister things along the way, and yeah, you could quite happily walk up and down that street because drivers are restricted to 10 kilometres an hour, and as you can see, we're going pretty slow too. There's a raised pedestrian crossing treatment across there, so you can just go straight across the footpath. It's quite obvious that got to give way to pedestrians. There's another raised treatment over on the right there, and then there's another raised platform here with bricks on the surface on the top. And just to speed it up a little bit, like I said, there's another one. And very comfortable places to ride through because that drivers, well, you hope they're not going to be screaming through. Another raised platform, this one with a pedestrian crossing on top and even a bicycle crossing as well. That's 3 so far, and we're going to go around the corner and there's another raised platform, different style, but I guess has the same impact. So that's 4 in a row, 5 in a row, different style again, with this one with some paint on it. I guess they'll put in at different times. And then a non-raised pedestrian crossing. Well, okay, so obviously must have been different engineers. Now we're going to another street here. They've put in these cushions. They look a little bit temporary, but I think they're probably there because coming up is the pop-up cycleway. And so they've put in some concrete islands here to really slow stuff down and give cyclists something to cut through to get across the other side. You can see some cushions on the other side of the crossing there, so drivers coming the other way won't run into you as you're trying to get on the cycleway. Now as we go along, every place where there's a crossing, it's been painted in green. There's driveways etc. off to the left, or cyclists and pedestrians might want to turn into those side streets off to the left there. You can see a lot of green paint has been put down along here, and this is quite a good one because you can see how it's contraflow to the traffic. So if someone opens their car door, they're going to get it smacked back into them pretty quickly. Now, look at that. That's the problem with allowing parking close to these intersections, that we only saw each other right at the last moment there. I think if you took out another car spot on either side and opened up the sight lines, that would be a heck of a lot better. And it just repeats again and again and again, same thing. Here we have raised, what do you call them, speed platform to go across, some more green paint, on the whole nicely done. And you can see there's a big gap there to the parked cars as well in that particular section. I guess the street's a little bit wider, so they're able to put like a metre buffer zone in there, which is really nice. Now we're turning off into another kind of quiet street. Don't ask me where any of these streets are. I mean, you just have to kind of ride around the inner west and find them. But we go under the railway lines here, and then we're going to turn right into a shared street. And it's a slow street. It's nicely planted. It's a pleasant place to be. The odd bollard to keep drivers out. Then we run into a different type of textured surface, so people can drive up and down this street, but as you can see, people are walking. There's really no footpath on either side. Drivers, I guess, go in there as guests. Now, because this is a bit of a hill, if you're coming down the other way, you don't need a cycle lane, you just ride down the road, but there's a cycle lane going up the hill, a little bit close to the parked cars for my comfort. That's why a bunch of us are riding out here. We don't want to be riding next to the car doors. But it's not really a problem because there's almost no vehicle traffic in the street, so it doesn't matter if you're riding out here. If the traffic volumes are that low, not an issue. Again, we're going across an intersection there of some sort. There's a laneway to the left, so there's a lot of green paint to let drivers coming out of that side street know that they could potentially see cyclists crossing. Now, another raised platform here. Look how big it is. It covers the footpath to the right and this nice wide cycle way on which we're on. Differently textured surface, etc. See, the car on the left just went over a speed hump or a speed platform. You can watch that one bounce over it, keeping the speeds down, and pedestrian crossing on the top of it. Now, as we come up to this intersection, again, you'll see the different textured surface right across the whole thing. It's raised slightly, letting drivers know they have to slow down for the turn, no matter which way they're coming. Again, you'll see these same features repeated time and time again as we just roll down here for the next couple of minutes. Here we have another intersection. You can see there's a give way sign, and the stop line for the drivers is well back over there on the right. So they're held back even before the pedestrian crossing. They really need to, stop and have a good look. Nice open sight lines here. The council's gone and cleared everything out of the way, so drivers have a very clear view left and right of any approaching cyclists or pedestrians. And you can see here, speeds are not that high for us cycling along. You've got to remember that cyclists aren't going to be tearing along here at 50 kilometres an hour. They're going to be doing 25 or 30. Look at this roundabout. You can see the entire surface has been textured, and again, the whole roundabout is a raised platform. So coming in from any of the three directions, driving into that, you'd have to go up onto the platform and off the platform as you exit, again keeping driver speeds down quite nicely. So yeah, a lot of work has been done to just make them slow streets. And what I have noticed when I've been riding up and down here is you do not see drivers racing along here. It's just take it easy. It's a nice street, it's lots of trees, etc. Yeah, it might be reasonably wide and flat and open, but it's not a racetrack. It's not a drag strip. Another treatment here, you can see there's a pedestrian crossing here. Then we're going to turn off through the green paint here. The whole thing has been brick textured. You can see there's different bricks in it. Again, we go over a little bit of a bump there. Roll down the hill, and what do we see? Yet another speed platform. Nice plantings on either side of it, and we're going to a roundabout. So this is really knocking your speed off, and you can see over on the right and on the left, and right in front of us, more platforms, more pedestrian crossings, more speed limitation for everyone entering the roundabout. So controlling both entry speeds and exit speeds coming out of roundabout is really important for pedestrians trying to get across, that they don't have to contend with drivers that have gone over a speed cushion getting into the roundabout, and they can floor it and go out of the roundabout as, you know, like a rocket ship flying out of the roundabout. And this is probably the last one in this series, yet another pedestrian crossing, again just reinforcing this idea of it's not point solutions, it's the whole street is textured to keep the speeds down from end to end.